We're live. If you guys are hearing this, this will also be on YouTube. So if you're seeing this on YouTube after the fact, how's it going? Comment. We're getting some people rolling in here. You know, another live stream, for this Monday occasion. Like I mentioned, this will be on YouTube. So, like, if you're at work or you're trying to, pick the kids up, whatever you need to do, this will also be on YouTube. Eventually, this may end up being like maybe like on the members side. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see how it goes. Man, it's Monday. I'm waiting to get some people in here. So, like, if you're watching YouTube, it's so funny. I was watching, I posted the full video, the full almost 2 hours of last live stream on YouTube, and so it was just kind of funny that watching me sit here waiting for people to come in, and it's just weird on YouTube because it's not live, and obviously here it is live, but it's a very, I would say it's a nice day today. I'm here in Tulsa area. I'm just yapping until we get some people in here. Start giving some topics. That's what I want, is some topics. I want some people to give me some topics. And if you got topics, if you're going to hear this after the fact on YouTube, drop some comments down. I'm always taking topics because you just never know. Because, I can go anywhere. I can tell stories. We can talk about movies. We can talk about sports. We got OU football coming up. We got college football coming up this Saturday. Your boy had to put some money down this past weekend on Iowa State, Kansas State. And I made $50. Light work. Some would say light work. I think I put like 5 down, max bet. And it delivered. But we're hanging out today on this Monday. A few topics we're going to be hitting. We're going to talk about the Pawnee story of the railroad. If you guys obviously check my page out, I told a story on there. I got some more kind of thoughts about that. But basically about a gentleman who sent me a story talking about he heard somebody talking as he was going to scare them when they were out in Pawnee. Then I got another story from Pawnee that was pretty kind of crazy, actually. It's a hunting story about some guys who were hunting and they ran across something. So that's another topic we're going to be talking about today. Another topic we're going to be hitting is alien Earth. And then we're going to be talking Lucky Star Casino. Some of the things that I've heard in the short time. So I posted a video about the Lucky Star Casino, and I had a Bigfoot discussion, I guess you could say, and I had a lot of people reaching out to me about it, talking about they seen it, or I have copies, or I know someone who has copies of it. So we'll be talking about that here pretty shortly, but once we get some people rolling in here. If you have a topic that you want to talk about, put it in the comments below. I try to read as many comments as I possibly can. Sometimes it just don't be working out, but I'm going to try to get every comment. So if you have any topics you want to hit them down, and we'll get it going. But whoever's jumping in and out, how's it going today on this Monday? Everybody doing all right? It's raining here in Oklahoma. It's finally getting cool. I know some of y'all got sweat back and ass crack sweat, and so I just want to make sure y'all was all right on this Monday, because I know sometimes you be sweat down in this heat. I know here in Oklahoma the temperature changes every you could breathe and it changes. I know out west it's probably different in the east, but this type of weather always kind of reminds me of like when I was a young guy, like in the summertime and has had a rainy day, and I'd be at my grandpa's house out in Park Hill, and we once it stopped raining, the crawdads or the whatever they are that burrow into the ground. I don't know if it's crayfish. I don't know what these people call them, but they basically come out of the ground to kind of do something. I don't know the physiology things, but we'd pick them up, and I think one time we got one that was in his yard. Dang, we just boiled it in water. No seasonings. I was like, first grade, second grade. He's like, oh, you're supposed to boil them. They're like lobsters. It's not good. It wasn't good. It was horrific. I don't think he had any seasonings in the house. It's funny, another thing that we used to eat a lot over at his house is those Campbell's chicken noodle soup with the stars. Back in the day, they used to have the designs. We'd be eating those up too, but I bet it's so. I ain't gonna lie. There is a weirdness too about being live and you're having people starting to roll in because you're like just talking. I'm just yapping. I mean, who hears this? The world may never know. I was talking to somebody. So my wife and I do Whatnot sometimes. We're gonna do one tonight. If you're on Whatnot, go. It's Toad and Co. I mean, I'm just helping. I'm just a salesman. I'm just the one that promotes it. But we had a lady on there who bought some stuff from us, and dang, she was telling us she got to the center of the Tootsie Pop. And I said, God bless. How many licks? She said like 2,000. I said, you counted? I don't know if it was 2,000. I can't remember how much it was. Or 200 or something. I was like, God bless. I said, you went 200 rounds with that Tootsie Pop and you got to the center. And I think she had like like when that candy starts getting sharp, or the lacerations on her teeth. I said, I can't even believe you did that. That's insane. But let me know down in the chat here. Let's see what topics y'all want to talk about. We can talk about anything. I know I got the 2 Pawnee, Oklahoma stories. I have not talked about the Cityplex Towers, which I didn't even know that was the name of them. But the Cityplex Towers in Tulsa, South Tulsa. So people were giving some lore on that in the comments of that video, and I didn't realize Oral Roberts. I mean, I knew he had some dealings with it, but I didn't know that he was. I didn't know he was crazy like that. Oral Roberts, the preacher that obviously the Oral Roberts University, and like I had never really, maybe a few people that had went there, but I guess people had been seeing. If you guys have listened to that story, a security guard was telling me that he saw a lady that's like The Grudge with the hairs over her face, and then he could see her face, and it was like a weird kind of dead face. But he was. Some of the comments that I've heard people talking about her before. I said, dang, that's kind of crazy. Because a lot of times when people tell me stories, there's a lot of stories that I don't tell on this podcast, or I don't tell, on social media, because I don't know if it's true or not. I don't really, someone could be seeing something. I ain't trying to say anybody's on drugs, but like you just never know when people tell you stories and give you information that you really don't know until you start asking around and you start realizing that, like, okay, this person saw this and this person saw this. It makes sense. It's the same thing. And so, like, a lot of stories that I've gotten from people, not a lot, but some stories I've gotten from people, I have a hard time telling them because I don't really want to be. It's not that I don't want to tell a true story, but I don't want to tell a story that may not be correct and not what people are seeing. And that's going to happen. People see different things, and I have a theory partially about Bigfoot, but also really about, it's kind of like not interdimensional stuff, but it kind of is interdimensional stuff because there's aspects, I think, and this was a perfect, someone was describing this on Bigfoot Crossroads with Matt Knapp. He's a friend of mine. Here out of Oklahoma, or here out of Tulsa area, and we were talking, and I was asking him about this podcast episode he did about that when somebody's going through the woods or someone sees something, automatically it's like they're whatever this is that they're looking at transforms into their biggest fears. And so I thought that was kind of interesting too, because it's like, people have heard Bigfoot stories or Dogman stories or LP stories or even the Rake or, different one of these beings. Now, I'm not going to classify Wendigo. I think it's not really a being. That's a spirit, I would say. And correct me if I'm wrong, Northern Tribes. I could be wrong on that. But I was always under the impression that the Wendigo was a spirit of sorts, like a bad spirit. So I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm on that, if I'm wrong. But I often wonder if maybe what these, I don't know, spirits of the forest, what they are, if they are like blobs. And whatever they run into, so for instance, they see a deer, it turns into the deer's predator. And like when we see it, which is not very often, it could be turning into a Bigfoot. I don't know. That's where my mind goes at like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like about to go to sleep, fading out. My mind just goes, hey, but what if it's not actually Bigfoot, but it's an interdimensional energy, plasma of such that turns into that? And, once we kind of get some more people rolling in here, I'll start telling more stories. But that's kind of another interesting theory about Bigfoot. Now, something I heard from a gentleman, and this is not on my podcast. I can't remember whose podcast I heard this on. Maybe the Confessionals. Maybe I'm not sure, but he said that this is interesting, that Bigfoot was like the Dogman's owner, which is weird. Because, like, there's been stories circulating over the internet that, like, these things have battled before, which I don't know. I don't know. But it's interesting. It's an interesting thought. But, some podcast stuff, I'm trying my best to figure out what day and time that I want to do the 100th episode. The 100th episode will be live on YouTube. I'm not really sure where I want to do it, or not where, but when I want to do it. I was thinking this week, and then I'm like, well, we got a lot of stuff going on in the background, so I'm like, well, maybe next week, or I may do a Sunday night, but I'm not really sure. But I'm going to try to have Rod from Lodge Tales. He's on here on TikTok too as well. I'm going to try to have him on, and I'm just trying to kind of seeing how that shakes out and like where we can go on that. And as far as like collaborations, I know I've had a few people over the course of the, since I've gained some followers on here. I'm not really a collaborator. I'm gonna be honest with you, not really my thing. It's never been my cup of tea. I always called myself kind of the one man band. So like we have different bands of Indians. Well, I'm just my own band. Like I've always operated that way. And when it comes to the podcast, because I think a lot of times, I don't really want to have. I kind of just want to go in my direction, and that's kind of. So I've had people ask about collaborations. I had a group ask me if I wanted to do a live show somewhere here in Oklahoma. I don't know where. I was like, I don't know, guys. But yeah, there's all different types of things that I'm working on, trying to figure out, and really it just comes down to time and getting things done around me. And I think a lot of times with podcasting, it's like I don't make any money off this, so it's like I just do it whenever I want to. And I don't ever know if this podcast, and I really don't. I'm not sure if I even have plans for the podcast to be like, oh, like he has his own network, or if someone asked me to join a network. I've seen that kind of do its own thing, and that's just not really been my game. I'm kind of just me. That's just kind of how I'm always been. Like, I'm not sure if I had like a schedule, if someone was like, hey, you need to do the podcast on this day, and I'd be like, I don't know. But the 100th episode's coming soon. I'm trying to think of what else. I have a few guests that I want to have come on to kind of round out like episode 101, 102, 103, 104. Like I have about 7 to 8 people that I have that I'm want to get a hold of and try to see if I can hammer out a date. But like spooky season's coming too, and so I'm gonna be working on that too as well. Especially like I want to have some people that I've had on before, but like I was like throwing in someone who I haven't had on before. And last year for spooky season 2024, I had Hunters of the Paranormal on, and then I had Weird Maine Paranormal, and then I had a group out of Shakota, After Walker Paranormal. And man, I don't know how y'all do it if y'all listening to this. I do not know how y'all can put up pentagrams and put up those little machines where they can get people. Not me. I've had people ask me, hey, let's go on a ghost hunt since you're somewhat local. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not, like, I told the story on the last live of, dang, I almost had something fall over here. On the last live about why I don't ghost hunt anymore. And I posted the video about my ghost hunting days, and there's more of that. But also too, like I just have so many weird little stories. They're not big stories, but like, we would go out there and basically find like animal bones out there. Like we'd see animals go missing. So like we would keep track of like when we would be going down to the bottoms out in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, out beside OG&E, we would track the animals. And, we'd go out there and there'd be dog bones, like all types of crazy, animal bones out there. But one night, I don't think I've ever told this story, but like one night we were out there and we think we see, like, you can kind of, like, when you're going down this, it was a terrible ass road too. It was crazy ditches, like you had to really go slow and weave your way through, and we're looking and it's like, dang, is that a fire? And so we really start looking and we could see it. It looked like small flashes of light through this thick brush that was on the sides of the road. And we're like, man, that might be a fire. So my buddy in his four-wheel drive Jeep, I'm surprised he didn't tear that thing up, because we start flying through there and we pull up to where we think we saw the flames, and we get there and there's no one there. It's like absolutely no one there. It looked like no one had been there. It looked like nobody had even been around that. And we look over there and you can see a little small, like smoke coming up. So I don't know if someone doused the fire or put something on it, but like they made sure that fire was out. Like they're like, and we couldn't tell it was dark outside. We didn't have any like super flashlights. It's always kind of misty down there too. It was always real wet. Didn't matter if like it had rained or not. But so like someone in the comments of that video, they were like, yeah, there's satanic worshipers down there. And I'm like, that might be what we saw. Because we had been actively, trying to find something out there. I mean, we went out there every Friday night after football games and just was trying to find something. But we never found nothing. You guys coming in and out, hit that like button. I want to make sure y'all have arthritis. Hit that like button. I appreciate it when you hit the like button. Just hit it as many times as you possibly can. I want you to get arthritis on for me. But yeah, it's weird, man. It's the state of Oklahoma is just weird in general. I think the furthest I've ever really attempted to try to go do any ghost hunting is out further away is Shakota. You follow. There was one time. Dang, I guess I'll tell on myself here. But I went out with a bunch of people that went to school. It was either Eufaula or Shakota. I can't remember. But we were out there just randomly one night, already kind of in the area. I think we might have, I don't know if we was coming off the lake or what, but I can't remember who I was with, actually. This is forever. It's probably almost 17 years ago. But anyways, we were out there, right out by Honeycomb Bluff out there, and you follow kind of west. You follow as you come off the highway. You take a right and you go on down. And we're all sitting out there, and like at the time there was nobody that lived out there. It was just pitch blackness. So we go up the side of this kind of this. I don't know if it's like a hill or whatever, but yeah, we go out there, and all of a sudden we hear something kind of walking at the bottom of that trail. It was just like real soft. It was like, so we were thinking maybe it might have been a rabbit, but I'm like, I don't know, a rabbit at night. And we heard it again. It was like, we're like, what is that sound? We were really sitting there thinking, like, what is that sound? But never. We ended up getting out of there because it started kind of. It was like it was getting closer, like it was like trying to sneak up on us. I was like, dang, could have ran into a baby Bigfoot, but we got out of there. Man, my buddy lost his dang shoe. He stepped in there was like a little mud something there where you kind of enter from the highway or from the road. Dang, he stuck his foot in there, couldn't get his shoe out. He had like literally had stepped like full weight, and it went all the way up to his dang shin, like middle of his shin. And he just bought those shoes too. I remember him saying, man, I hope I don't mess my shoes up. Yeah, he messed his shoes up. He had a full foot in. Aaron says, let's go out there. No, I ain't going out there. I'm not going out there. The reason why I ain't going out there, man, is like, I just feel like I haven't been there in forever. And like, honestly, I haven't been to Fort Gibson probably maybe since like we was all hanging out. Like, I haven't been to Fort Gibson maybe since we played basketball out there. I was going to say since I graduated, but no, that was a long time ago. Showing my age, but yeah, like I'm trying to think of some other. We went to an abandoned building in Shakota, and we couldn't really see nothing. But that's one thing about being in abandoned buildings. You just like so much energy and just old, like it's just like creepy, but everything's old timey. But like we were out there and we could hear somebody walking. It sounded like somebody was walking on the top floor, but there was no top floor. So we were thinking somebody was on the roof, so we get out there and there's nobody out there. But like it sounded like it. Another time, like I said, Merle Home Park, we went out there, probably 10, 20 times. And I went out there with so many stinking people. If you don't know where that's at, that's Park Hill, outside of Tahlequah, but it's Tahlequah, I guess technically. But I'm trying to think of where else. When I was with the Spirit Talkers, we went out to recreation center that I worked at. I was a director over there, and we ran into I don't know if I want to say a demon, but it was like it had a name, and it told us its name. And I'm trying to think. I think it was Malice. And if you haven't heard, what was it, episode 95? It's a members only. And I know a lot of people have been asking about this pastor story that I told on here. About the pastor that served two, quote unquote, two masters is how I describe it, but I'm not really sure. I know a lot of Christians in my dang comments being like, you can't serve two masters. It's like, you think you can't serve two masters. It don't mean he can't. And that guy was a preacher at a church in the day, and then he had his synagogue of whatever he had going on at night. And he was using the church money to fund that at night. So that story's out there. But the reason why I don't want to tell that full information, that full story on TikTok, because it's just like, it's a lot. It literally took me an hour and something to record. And I detail my entire time with this guy who was telling me these stories from time to time. He would tell me that his grandpa, because they're originally from Arkansas, and during that time when he was telling me, I went and looked it up. I think that they were doing some type of energy weapon stuff out there. And that could be looked up, but I can't exactly quote that. I haven't looked at that in 4 years or 3 years since he told me that. It was like 2022. But he did a lot of creepy stuff. Like just a lot of like he made, like, No, I wouldn't say, because he came across to me as a good guy. Like, I never had problems with him. But, like, you could tell that he was doing stuff. Like, I'll tell part of this story. Like I said, you guys can find this on YouTube, on my members only on YouTube. But he had sigils all over the place, all over that building. And I remember somebody finding one. It was like underneath a desk in one random room. And I told him, I said, why are you doing that? He said, well, I just want to make sure this place is protected, from any. And I'm looking at him like, no, I think you're trying to spy. I think you're trying to know what's going on here at all times. And he kind of looked at me, he kind of smirked. I knew what he was trying to do. And he would do things like that, or he would show me books that he got from this organization that I'm not going to name because they're everywhere, and it's like what are the stone. Y'all get it? It's someone who works on stones, but the last part by itself. He was working on that, and he had different, like, he would show me the books every now and then. I'd take a look at them, but I'm nervous about that because I had to run in with somebody or something that I don't think was human, that said that they were a part of that organization. And that story is episode 94. So all the episode 90s I've been talking about because they're the most recent on the podcast, but but he had a lot of those weird books. And there were symbols in there that I'm like, man, these are elaborate. Like, I didn't know anything about these symbols. And so he, one of I think it was a lifeguard or somebody found something, and it had symbols on it and different things in the desks and whatnot. And there was one time, I'll tell you, this is kind of creepy, but I was sitting at the front desk. I'm just kind of finishing up. I just got done shocking the pool, and I'm trying to put in data from this day so I can be ready for the next day. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I thought I heard somebody laughing, like a real kind of, I hate to say maniacal, but some people be really laughing, but like really laughing, but it was like a whisper. It was like real, but I could hear it in my ear. Like, if anyone else was there, I don't know if anyone else would have heard it, but there's no one there. But like, I heard somebody kind of laughing real maniacal, but it was a real whisper. And I asked him, I said, are you doing stuff in this building? That's kind of when it came to the symbols. That's when he kind of gave me that answer. But I asked him, I said, I think I heard you last night. He kind of looked at me, he said, oh, you heard me? I said, yeah, I heard you. And he kind of smirked. He had this smirk about him. I knew he was up to, doing some things, and he talked about, and that's why I always say, when I hear people talking about this new age magic, eventually one day, very long in the future, I'll tell my encounters that I had with a witch. I get nervous talking about that because that was weird. That was some weird stuff, man. Me being of the spooky and being around a bunch of spooky a lot in my life, that's something I haven't really talked about with a lot of people because it was one of the weirdest times. I've spoken about a little bit, but not a lot. And maybe one day I'll have to tell that story about my time messing around with whatever with someone who was a new age witch. But he was doing a lot of that too, though. That guy that he was one of my team members. He was doing a little bit of that, and he was talking about hill medicine or Appalachians. If you hear this, people from Appalachia who know those things, he called it hill medicine, I think, or something. I can't exactly remember what he called it, but he called it something like that. And he said that he learned some Cherokee stuff, and he knew some people out in Tenkiller, out in kind of Cookson Hills, that taught him some stuff, and he basically was mixing the two together, which I don't know. I know I was talking to Patrick Meekin about the Amish medicine. I've mentioned this on a live before, but one thing about that Amish medicine, it's like a bunch of different. I don't know if it's Germanic or if it is Eastern European magic or medicine mixed with native medicine, and it becomes really strong. and there was a Hulu documentary talking about that. I was like, man, and this is all right before I was talking to that guy too. I think he's a self-trained demonologist, but he's done all types of stuff, and I had episodes with him back in last October during spooky season. But if you guys go to my page and you click YouTube, it takes you right to YouTube, and I have basically everything in order, like in playlists. So if you go to the playlist, it'll be like full episodes, videos, stories by native storytellers. Like it's broken down because I'm weird like that. I like things where I can just listen to it continuously over and over. But I hope everyone's doing all right. My little yapathon right there. If y'all can hear my cat in the background, he's got to get his 2 cents in. Let me know if you got any topics in the chat, and we'll see what we can do. Let's see what I can pull from my memory to give y'all something. If you guys got a topic that you want to talk about, eventually we're going to get to the Lucky Star Casino stories and information, and then eventually we'll get to Pawnee, Oklahoma. I got talking about the railroad traveler story that I have posted, and then another story that was told to me by 2 gentlemen. So they both told me the story, with one giving more details, and the other one giving me a broad overview. And it's something that I'm curious in, because there was some UFO activity going on too at the same time with those guys. But let me know in the chat if there's any other topics you want me to hit today. I'm going to be talking about Alien Earth Episode 3 as well. I've been watching The Boys, which I guess this is the final season, or that was the final season, because it's seeming like they're trying to wrap it up. But Carl Urban is like looking decrepit. It's a great show though. It's kind of losing me a little bit, but it's a good show. But is there anybody who, if there are any topics you want to talk about, put them in the chat below. But let's get on to the topics, the stories. So I posted that Pawnee story, and I didn't really, I know Pawnee's creepy. I spent one night out there with Russell, Sun Eagle, and Chris Hill. We did a storytelling event out there, and they took us on a tour of the grounds and all this, and they were showing us what places people have been seeing things, and I have received stories from people. I heard a gargoyle story from somebody out that way. I believe I told that on This Is Creepy, but this person told me this story about this railroad travelers, and basically they were fishing one night, and all of a sudden kind of, things were getting real dead. So he decides to go fishing somewhere else, away from his cousins. And he's fishing, and he's like, man, I guess I'm going to go back, or I'm going to go over here and fish. And when he's over there fishing, he thinks he hears some people on the railroad tracks, kind of, I don't know if it's behind him or in front of him, but he hears somebody talking on the railroad tracks. So he's like, man, let me go out here. Maybe it's my cousins. Maybe I'll go scare them real quick. And so he kind of makes his way through the shrubs, and all of a sudden he hears somebody talking like, hey, like he's over here. He's over here. Look, he's over here. And so he's like, okay, I'm about to get him. They're about to cross in front of me. And so he jumps out, and there's nobody there. Absolutely nobody there. And he looks around. He's like, what in the world? What is going on? And so he ends up going, getting his stuff and going back to his cousins, and his cousins are still there. His cousins have never left. They were still at the pond. So there's no way that they could have been on the railroad tracks, ran all the way around, and got back to their spot before he got back. And so, I know I was kind of thinking of that could be LP. And also, too, I wonder if there's spirits of, maybe on, railroad tracks. Maybe someone passed away. Because those, I don't know if it's the same railroad tracks, but I've received another story about somebody out of Pawnee who had heard a gargoyle that landed on the railroad tracks. And I wish I'm not really well versed in TikTok and how to get things behind you on the green screen, but but maybe I may post it eventually or something. But she was telling me that this thing looked like it was just planted on the railroad tracks. And she was like watching it, and she's like, "Man, like it looked like kind of like stone." Is kind of what she described it, because the picture that she sent me that of what she thought it looked like, it looked crazy too. It had like big old eyes and its wings, and it had real kind of shorter, stumpier legs, but kind of like real built looking, like strong. But like, I wonder if that's the same railroad tracks out that way, out in Pawnee. But as that story, I tell that story, people start reaching out, and I've heard different stories, and someone told me a story a while ago that they saw basically. This might have been, I can't remember who told me this actually, but someone was telling me it might have been the same person actually, but they were saying that they saw basically kind of like like when a ghost does like it's stuck in a loop. That's what he saw. He saw basically a bunch of Indian Pawnee kids, walking, and there was an old head mistress or whatever leading these kids up into the dorms one night. He said he was out there. I was like, man, that's crazy, but how energy sticks like that. But so the story that was told to me by these gentlemen, that reached out. I don't want to give their names, unless there's like, hey, you can say my name, but. So they reached out, and they said, in the comments, they said, hey, man, you need to accept. This is how I know. I was like, this might be pretty decent. This guy, he's got to tell me. He said, hey, you need, Yehola, you need to go and accept my message here on TikTok. I said, all right. So I was like, man, it's already kind of late. I was like, I'm getting sleepy, but I'll accept it. And I said, what's going on? Just kind of being pleasant, He's like, you're not going to want to miss this story. I said, all right, we'll tell it. So him and his buddy, there's a lease of land out in Pawnee. I didn't ask the specifics, because if I start asking for specifics, I don't want anybody to know that there's a lease of, hunting out in Pawnee. Well, over the course that they've had this deer lease, there have been like weird electrical things happening. They would put deer cameras out in this part of this property, and it just would literally, like, it may take a few pictures, but it would eventually, the battery would go dead. It was like always the energy, the electrical energy would just zap out of these machines. There had been times where they were out there and the truck wouldn't start or the car wouldn't start. There had been times where maybe, I think it was like phone batteries. He may correct me. I think it was like phone batteries, but just electrical stuff was having a lot of issues out there. And he said every time, like when something wouldn't happen, they always got stuck. He said literally anytime that something didn't happen, they always got stuck out there. So like they could go through a random pot of mud and just get stuck, and so they just end up having to, figure it out and get out. But they had a camper out there, and the way that the camper got out there is one time the family went out there and they basically just got stuck, and so they just left it. They unhitched and left it. But it's like he said, just land is weird. He said that they've had a lot of weird stuff happening out there. So these guys are out there this night, and they were trying to get ready to hunt. Probably the next day, I think is what they said. But so they're all, they're him and his buddy land in this camper, and all of a sudden, they started kind of noticing things weird happen outside the camper. And then they started, I can't remember if they said it was like tapping on the windows, but something was messing with the camper on the outside. And, they started looking kind of around to try to see if they could find something. And literally the guy was like, man, I was so scared. I didn't really, because they didn't have no weapons in the car or in the camper. It was all in the truck. I think it was said toolbox or in the back seat, but it was in the truck. He said he could hear something messing with the truck, trying to maybe get into the truck. And so they looked around and see if they could find anything. They were real, this guy was like, man, this is the scariest I've ever been. And he's like, we just built them enough courage and we go out there. And they go out there and they look around, he's getting ready to fight somebody or fight something. And there's nothing there. There's nothing out there. And they started kind of really looking around to see maybe if somebody left something or any type of trace. of anything. And I can't remember where it was at on the vehicle, but there was a nasty. He said it was the most inhuman looking handprint that he had ever seen. He said it was greasy. It looked like might have been hair, like it had put its hand on the thing and it had left right here from the handprint, like it was setting itself on something. And he said that it just was the biggest, greasiest, nastiest handprint that he had ever seen. And he said, we got out of there. He said, but the weird part, of that handprint, the next weird part was that when they went out, like when they were on their way out of there, they looked behind them and there's lights coming up from where they were. So, that's creepy. And that guy, he's like, man, that was the scariest I had ever been in my entire life. He said, whatever that was, something was, out there with us. And I'm kind of curious, if some, what it might have been. I kind of want to go out there. I'd go out there and see if I could see something. But, let's see here. Don't whistle at night. What's going on with you, man? My brother from another mother. How you doing? Hope you're doing all right. Let's see here. Hit the screen, y'all. Give me some likes. Let's get the likes going in here. Just get arthritis. I want y'all to. If you're busy, you gotta tap it with your phone or tap it with your toes, man. Do what you gotta do, but wipe it off because it's gross. You little nasty boogers. In my British accent, my nasty boogers. But hit that like button. If you like these stories and you want to hear more stories, hit the like button. I got my goal before we get out of here. I want to get, let's see here. What's my goal? Let's do 15,000 likes before I get out of here. And we got some time. We got plenty of time. 15,000. Dang, TikTok's letting me know that y'all are they had to filter some of these comments because y'all was wilding out in here. Y'all talking real greasy. I wish I could see what they were, but I guess I'll never know. But yeah, I want to hit 15,000 likes. So hit it as much as you possibly can. Somebody in here talking greasy. But if you're hearing this on YouTube on the back end, because eventually, like I said, this will be posted to YouTube, please let me know in the comments if there's any topics that you guys want to talk about. And if there's any topics, here today that you want to talk about. I know I'm kind of going on in a weird time, but it's just the time I have. Eventually, I'll go on at night, but I'll be getting too scared. I don't want y'all getting too scared. I know I don't want you guys having to curl up in a blanket, I don't want y'all be hiding under the covers thinking that a shadow man's going to get you, which he might. He might. But going back to that Pawnee story, it's always interesting to me, and I know David Paulides has talked about this for a little bit. I think he just recently had a new movie come out, I think in 2024, but I talk about him, but yeah, he's got a lot of good research. It's interesting to hear that. But the UFO and Bigfoot connection is interesting to me. And I had somebody reach out to me. He was on my show. Hunters of the Paranormal had his grandfather said that he was abducted and saw what he thought was Bigfoot on a different dimension, which is crazy. But it's interesting because with them seeing whatever that greasy handprint, whatever came from that greasy handprint, maybe that thing, whatever it was, got lifted back into the ship. And maybe that land, because they always talk about the different energy zones and ley lines. I know that's like a conspiracy thing, but like, I wonder if that's something to that too. And that energy. I know a lot of different religions they kind of bypass a lot of that, the energy of the water, the energy of the grass, the trees, and I believe in those things. I believe in those energies. I always try to treat nature right, and I think that's a lot of what happens at the Illinois. Is these beings who that's their home, or in the lakes, these things flood. I don't think we've had any floods this year, to my knowledge. I haven't been to Tahlequah probably in Tahlequah. I haven't been to Illinois in probably 4 or 5 years. I was down there. I was down there all the stinking time, man. I just could not get enough of it. And I miss it. I was down there last time with my dogs, my husky and my mastiff. They's down there loving it. But I think a lot of this, with these natural disasters, we're doing a lot of digging, like in the Gulf Coast, or the Gulf. What is it, the Gulf of America now, or whatever it's called. That's crazy, but we're doing things to nature, and someone brought up a good point to me, and I thought this was very interesting. When it comes to oil, is we act like, or we say oil is a non-renewable. Once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah, Gulf of Mexico forever. Yeah, hey, that's I don't understand. I don't understand the name changes and stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. But whatever. But like with the oil, someone brought up a good point. But what if what we're doing is we're basically taking the blood of the earth? What if oil, crude oil that comes out of the ground, is the earth's blood? And there's a price to be paid, I think, on a metaphysical and even a physical plane, where we have to pay the piper. We have to pay our toll. And things like Katrina. Like, I watched the Katrina documentary, and I just couldn't even believe, like, the amount of how crazy that was. And I mentioned this before on a previous live stream, but it's just crazy to me that how we have all these man-made barriers and man-made things that keep us safe. Tornado sirens, but it doesn't matter. Those things don't matter at the end of the day. If that storm, Mother Nature, decides to take it, she will. And I also wondered if maybe we get to a point where we just take, that she just can't take no more. And she goes, well, let me go throw a hurricane out in the Gulf. Tear up a bunch of stuff. And, people always kind of like, oh, we need to clean our oceans up. But, like, that stuff disappears. Like the oceans are back to how they were. And that oil goes back to where it's supposed to go. I know that this may all sound crazy to people who live in a black and white world, like this is how it is and this is how I believe it to be. But I also believe that there's something that's always behind that. There's always something that's moving that. Like, things just don't, I believe this, things don't happen for a reason. Or they don't happen for no reason. Like, things are just not random. I think that we do things to the environment. I think we do things to ourselves. I think things we do to others. And it becomes a point where, like, whatever that is going to get its get back. It's going to get us. Beauty and More says, oh my gosh, the Katrina stuff was so crazy and sad. Yeah, like, I watched that documentary on Hulu, and I can't wait on Wednesday for the Netflix version of that. I cannot wait to see what that's going to say. But, like, those people could have been evacuated. Like, I know we can't predict storms, but, like, there had been things that the Corps of Engineers and all these studiers and researchers, there are documents out there that was told to the mayor, like, hey, the levees may break. We need to get these people out of here. And he said, well, yeah, it was like he was trying to save face, but then come to find out that dude's embezzling all the money. He's in prison. I believe he was in prison 2 years after Katrina for mismanagement and embezzlement. And it always goes back to if as someone who has worked in local municipalities, if you ask about what the internal controls are and they can't give it to you, there are none. Just let that sink in. I worked at a city out in West Oklahoma City for some time. And when I first got there, I said, "What are the internal controls for this process for this?" And they were like, "Well, we're working on it." Oh, so there are none. Is what you're telling me. Nothing. There's nothing there. So Katrina could have been avoided, but also too, Mother Nature, and like Aaron says, Mother Nature is undefeated. She's never lost. Has never lost. Let's see here. What's going on, Miss Me B? His J. Hope you're doing all right on this Monday. I know everybody's weekend went a little too hard for some people. I know. I've been there. Sometimes you wake up on that Monday and you say, why? Beauty Moore says, and the way they lied and said that they went and got people, but they really just left dead bodies. Like, yeah, that's what's crazy too. So what's insane to me is that they didn't even have no processes for when it flooded. So there were dead bodies floating in the water, and also too at the Superdome and the I had never heard about the convention center that was just a couple blocks down. But they just left the bodies dead. They would just stack them up in the bathroom because bathrooms didn't work. With all the flooding, there's no electricity for bathrooms. So they just left the dead bodies in the bathrooms, or they left them in the hallway. And there were CDC people who were on the ground like, man, we got to figure something out. We got dead bodies. And just imagine the amount of people. I think I can't remember the death toll, if anyone y'all know that, but just that documentary, it was on HBO, it was on Hulu. I couldn't even believe it, man. I didn't realize, 2005, I'm in 6th grade, 5th grade. I'm 31, so whatever that is, but I remember seeing man, that's so terrible. And I remember we got some kids, I think we had some kids that came from Katrina. And one thing that's just it's so crazy to me is that we just left our elderly. That's shout out to the guys who literally just jumped on boats and was dragging people out of houses. That's why when people say, I always heard this phrase growing up, and I'm going to probably get it wrong because I'm not well versed in this, but what JFK said, do not with what your government can do for you, but what you can do for the government. That's brainwashing. The government's never going to take care of you. If your house is burning down, government's not going to help you build it back. That's a you thing. So I am disillusioned with the fact, and especially seeing Katrina and see how that could have been managed a little bit better. I'm not going to talk about 2020 and how that was. And now we got kids with myocarditis. We got kids having heart attacks and 18, 19 years old. Is it common? Is it something that happens to all kids? No. But that's never happened. They had one case in the last 20 years. And it was a kid that already had something going on. I mean, we had Hank Gathers. He had a heart attack on the basketball court and passed away on the court back in the 90s. But that's we don't see those things. And so there's just ways that we just expect a higher entity to save us. And something that I've kind of learned over the last 5 years is it's not the only person that can save you is you, or the only person that can save you and your family is you. Me B says LOL. Yeah, hey, I hate to do it, man, but some of these people they'd be rolling out of bed like, dang, what did I do? I almost went to karaoke last night, but I decided not to. I guess I'm a better person for that, I guess. Betsy goes, I remember hearing tons of people were left to die in cells at the prison. Yeah, they were left to rot. They were just left to rot. Oh, another crazy thing about Katrina that I just was I didn't know anything about was that when they were saying, I remember back when this happened and they were like, oh, there's snipers, there's lawlessness going on. But really, it's just people trying to get food because they weren't feeding them. They were telling everybody go to the Superdome, telling everybody to go to this place and we'll help you and we'll feed you. We'll make sure that you're safe. This is what the government of New Orleans says. They didn't do that. So these people are like, I have a infant who needs formula. if I walk down here to the non-flooded part of New Orleans, which I believe was, what was it? Algiers. Or I'll go down to the French Quarter. We got to find something for. And there was people on there like, I have to find food for my child. And we had, and this is, I'm not trying to be any type of way, but there were a lot of white people down there saying that these hoodlums and these thugs are stealing from my grocery store, and they're just taking whatever. And there were literal video footage of these people not carrying out cell phones, not carrying out shoes, not carrying out all the stuff that they were claiming they were carrying out. It was all food. Literally, grocery stores had everything intact besides flashlights, batteries, stuff like that. Like, these people were not being fed. And so they had to figure it out. There are people from Algiers who were trying to make their way over to the Superdome, and in the city said, nope, turn back. And so Katrina was a mess. And I'm glad I saw that documentary, and I'm hoping the Netflix one is better, but I'm not. Netflix hasn't had a good documentary in quite a while. Beauty Moore says, yeah, I knew it was bad, but not that bad. Yeah, it was bad. I didn't, like I said, that just shows you the power of media, man. Just in general, just people will blindly follow a news organization just because they say what you want to hear, and that a lot of times is not really what the case is. And for them to call them people thugs and hoodlums, and it was a majority black, because the lower Ninth Ward was a lot of black people, and there were a lot of black people at the convention center in the Superdome. And even the people in the documentary were like, yeah, I looked around, I said, man, I'm just seeing a lot of elderly white people and black people. That's what they were seeing. He said we'd see some younger white dudes. This is the guy. This is not me saying it. This is the guy from the documentary. He said, I just looked around, I saw a lot of my people. He said, what can we do? Let's see here. Hey, my goal for this live, y'all, is 15,000 likes. 15,000 likes. So hit that like, and I appreciate y'all jumping in and out. And the greatest tragedy of our time is her. Yeah, it's up there. It no doubt. I mean, it's crazy. It just happened 4 years after 9/11. So at that time, and people, I know there was an OU football player, C.D. Lamb, who plays for the Cowboys. He had to come to Texas, like the state of Texas, because his family's from New Orleans. So there was a lot of people that were misplaced. And what's crazy about that too is they try to eminent domain those people. They say, "Oh, well, you ain't lived in here in a couple years. We're going to go ahead and take it because it's ravaged." And they were going to pay them like a quarter of the price of what it was worth after the flood, not before the flood, after the flood. So they're going to give them, "Oh, well, this property is a mess. We'll clean it up for you, but we want to own it for a fraction of the price, because before it was worth quadruple, and they wanted to pay them a quarter of the price." But yeah, hit that like button, y'all. I'm trying to get, like I said, this live stream up to 15,000 likes. 15,000. We're a quarter of the way there. A third of the way there, I guess, if you want to say, or 1/5 of the way there. Whatever the math. That's that Oklahoma math. I guess if I can get Ryan Walters to help me out on how to add 1 + 1, maybe we might have something going there. Yeah, the math was doing something. The math was all over the place. The math was not mathing. But yeah, that's a documentary. And then I've been watching the yogurt murders out in Austin, Texas. Which Austin, Texas, right now might be kind of having some serial killer stuff going on at Lady Bird Lake. And I know this is something that I've kind of done a little research on, is the Garth Brooks serial killer conspiracy, that like every time that he has a concert in a certain area, someone goes missing or someone's unalived or their life is taken. So it's interesting to me that Garth Brooks has that, and then it's like people are going, "Oh well, the person who came up with it was Tom Segura, who's a comedian. What if he's just masking?" I love conspiracies, man. They're my favorite. Aaron says the math ain't mathin', bub. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that one's not. Me B says maybe it's Chris Gaines. Hey, Chris Gaines. What was he thinking, man? What was Garth Brooks thinking being Chris Gaines for like, what was he, like a year? He had the hair and everything. Like, my question is that he was going bald, Garth Brooks. Where did that hair come from? And I'm not going to lie to y'all. If y'all remember the lead singer to AFI, that emo punk band, that had his hair. Garth Brooks had his hair. They had the, hey, Miss Mudda, can I? That, yeah. Oh, a toupee, hey. That's true. I didn't even think of that. I was thinking a full-on wig. But no, just a little bit of business in the front like this. Just hair covering. But that Garth Brooks conspiracy is interesting because it is true that, yes, there has been someone who has been unalived during the time of his concerts. Imagine the amount of energy you would have to be Garth Brooks and murder someone. Or Garth Brooks, you murder someone in the morning. You'd be a serial killer in the morning. You take off your Chris Gaines outfit. You put on the country cowboy outfit. And you're singing your life away. Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots. That's insane to me. Yeah, it's crazy. No, it is crazy. He did a whole fake documentary on Chris Gaines. I need to see that immediately. I need to see the Chris Gaines documentary by Garth Brooks. Because here's another thing too about that Garth Brooks conspiracy. In his songs, he does allude to maybe, possibly, some of those activities. People, Beauty and More and Aaron both say he had to sacrifice to keep his fame. Because he had not done that hot since the 90s. Let's keep it a buck. He's living off the fame of I've Got Friends in Low Places. Karaoke live, anyone sing some more? No, I'm good, babe. I'm all right. Thanks, though. Thanks for putting that out there to the universe. That's like my hidden talent is singing. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. My hidden talent is talking to you guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a War Cry Podcast TikTok live stream. I'm your host, Yehola Tiger. Anyways. But no, like, that whole conspiracy is interesting. And also, too, another interesting part of it is Tom Segura. Because he's the one that started it. And people are saying that there have been people missing during he's in town. It always goes back to when I think of like these types of conspiracy theories. Is the one that Billy Corgan, the singer of Smashing Pumpkins, he was talking about how somebody very reputable in the music business, he watched them shapeshift into something that wasn't human. And I was like, whoa. I remember he said that on Howard Stern. He was not trying to say it. He was not trying to say that at all. If you have seen that video, or if you haven't, go check it out. Billy Corgan talks about shapeshifters. I didn't even think it was real. I saw this in like the early 2000s when YouTube first came out. He was talking to Howard Stern, and Howard Stern says, "What do you mean someone's shapeshifted in front of you? What do they look like?" He said that they just look like something that I've never seen before. And he said they just went back. I was like, man, that's crazy. Another one, too, that's another kind of, like that kind of, I guess, aspect of celebrity conspiracy is when Bobby Lee said that he walked in on a seance trying to bring back people. Like comedians who had passed, they were basically trying to do a seance to get them to, like, tell them, trying to bring them back. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Hollywood. But, yeah, the documentaries, man. HBO has had a few good ones, or a few really great ones. And then Netflix was good there for a minute, and Hulu's are kind of but, I've been kind of, like, we watch a lot of ID on HBO Max. And one of the ones that I thought was really good was the Sherry Papini. If y'all haven't seen that, the movie Gone Girl is based on her, where she disappears and said that she was kidnapped by two Mexican chicks, and all of a sudden Like, she's not. She just shows up, like, all bound up, and she's got bruises, and that lady. And so they did that documentary, The Perfect Wife. It's on Hulu. So it details the entire thing and how she comes home, and like they're like, there's something off about her, like she's not right. Well, then ID channel, which, hey, ID has some great true crime documentaries. But she comes, so she does a like, let me tell my side of the story, of this crime that was done against me. I am the victim. This lady, literally, Sherry Papini and Casey Anthony are literally the same. They both got a documentary to defend themselves, and it's wild. So, like, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but she says something at the very beginning of the documentary, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, that could check out. Like, it could. So at the end, it just changes the entire documentary. Go check it out. It's on HBO Max. It's called Sherry Papini Tells All, or Expose or whatever. And she goes in there and she tells her entire, like, what happened to her. And they go talk to the guy who she said kidnapped her. And he literally is like, I can't talk to you guys. I'm in the middle of some litigation. Like, these people that do true crime documentaries on ID channel, they know what they're doing, because they be hitting all the. Somebody is watching social media and they're like, yes, let's go do that. But she said basically that she had, like, got caught up where she described the actual closet. And they found her boyfriend had a closet just like that had the same bolts in the wall. Yeah, that Sherry Papini documentary, that true crime. I'm a sucker for that. I'm also a sucker for 90 Day Fiancé. You can judge me all you want, but the finale, or one of the reunions for 90 Day Fiancé, Hunt for Love, is tonight, and I just cannot wait. A Hunt for Love. I cannot wait for that. There's about to be some straight juice on that. Like, straight juice from the pulp. We're squeezing that thing for everything it's worth. It's getting all the ounces. All right, but what's some topics y'all want to hear before I move on to anything else? Conspiracies, anything that you heard in the news that you want me to talk about? Before I get to the Lucky Star Bigfoot kind of talk. The Lucky Star Bigfoot thing has taken its windy roads, and I'm just like, wow, there's just so much going on here. Bad medicine. What about bad medicine? Is that the Lady Gaga song? What about bad medicine? Hopefully nobody puts any on me. I ain't trying to have none. I'm just a weary traveler. You're just scrolling through. I'll tell you something though. Let's see here. Let's see here. I don't want to mess this. Yeah, what do you want to know? Or I guess what do you mean by bad medicine? I can try my best. Do you know any? Golly, this is. Do you know anyone personally that practices it? Man, yeah, maybe, kind of, maybe, a little bit. I talk about it in Tulsa Skinwalker. Tulsa Shapeshifter, I think, is another title I had for that. But it's on YouTube. I don't want to talk about it in depth because it's creepy, and it gives me goosebumps when I talk about it. But I talked a little bit about it earlier in the stream. So for you guys that are just joining in, this stream will be uploaded to YouTube after. So if you missed something, you guys missed a lot at the beginning. But if you want to go back and listen to it, it'll be on YouTube. I'll probably have it on YouTube in the next day or so. Just trying to keep the content going over there. Eventually, once the episodes start rolling in, when I start doing episodes, those will go to members only. And so you'll only be able to see them on members only on YouTube. Those Duck Unlimited videos have been interesting about the pig humanoid rake source. Yeah, I saw those, and I'm glad you tagged me in those. There's something about there's something to southern bayou culture or like swamp culture that I don't really know much about. And I'm sure that there's people out there that talk about that it's like a swamp culture. Because it is interesting because they have talked about, and I've heard this maybe a couple years ago, and I could be getting it wrong just based on my memory, but someone was telling me about an alligator humanoid type thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if it, you see a pig humanoid type thing running around. I also think too, especially off the coastal areas, you have these like Montauk. That's one that you have that they're doing things. I mean, they're trying to figure out a way to. I was about to get to that. Do you think it's man-made? Yeah, I believe so. I think we're doing a lot of those things. I think I'm good like that. I actually know what you're thinking right now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I think a lot of those things that we don't know about. And like I said, I've been watching The Boys on Amazon Prime, and that's a lot of what's going on. We think that it's the public in the show. We get a behind the scenes look at all these superheroes and how they're like, oh, a gift from God. But really, this company has been pumping these bad boys out and putting them all over the country. And people are raising them. People are paying to raise superhero children, like super soldiers. I know that you look at the history of super soldiers or the whatever you want to call it, history, lore, legend, myths, have been around for a long time. The earliest one that I can remember off the top of my head, I'm sure there's probably older, is the Egyptians. They had dog head people walking around. You had St. Christopher, who was walking around and said that he was dog faced. You had, different people through all these ancient, kind of things. They're running around, or they were. I don't know if they are now. I'm not an expert, but these are just my deductive reasonings. But the super soldier thing, to me, is very interesting. Why wouldn't you try to make something that could run through a wall and you don't have to sacrifice any of your soldiers? I also think the Nazis had some things going on with some alien technology, maybe. I know that there's a whole show on History Channel, I think it's History Channel, which can you take that with a grain of salt. It's History Channel. It's supposed to be history, but it's really not. But there's different things that have been put out there about this program. I mean, I think a lot of the movies that we see, the Marvel movies, you got The Boys, you have Dog Soldiers, you have all these little movies that like hint at things. It's like just, hey, we're going to let you know that this might be here. It might be out there. I mean, I remember back in the early 2000s we talked about Minority Report. And here we are. We're getting close. We got things that could probably start doing that. I mean, this phone right here in front of us, this thing that we all are talking into and then you're watching me. There's a little, if you ever notice, this is conspiracy me, but if you look right above where you get your signal, does everyone see it? That little, it should be either a green or a orange. That's telling you that that's live. The green is on, means live. The orange means that it can only hear you. And when it's not there, it means it's off. That's how you can tell. Like, how do you not know that they just turn it off and they just watching us? Everybody's watching. Like, I remember all these movies in the, Running Man, like all these movies that they tell us, like, hey, if we advance technology enough, something's going to happen. And then now I'm hearing AI's taking over, but then there's a small subsect of people who work on AI that are saying, no, AI is going to implode on itself and something worse is going to come from it, which could be whatever. Me says, yep, Texas Giants is interesting. Seen some clips of those too. I haven't seen much of those. Is the series Supernatural based on Montauk Project? Could be. It could be. I think one thing too about Supernatural, I think a lot of that stuff is out there. I mean, they cover everything. They cover the jinn, they cover fairies, they cover giants, they cover everything in that show. Human hybrids. The green muck or the black muck. Yeah, tag me in some of that stuff. I think a lot of our movies and TV shows, I think that they do have some semblance. I mean, the show Homeland, for example, the Claire Danes, the main actress, she took CIA classes to try to figure out how to act like a CIA agent, and they had a CIA liaison. And people don't talk about how the CIA is had funding in the movie industry. That's another thing that nobody ever talks about. I've never heard, besides the people who are into conspiracies such as that, but the CIA is in on that. Like they have funding in that. They have funding in a lot of stuff. But all these spy movies, they're flat out hey, yeah, we do this. I mean, you just hear different CIA agents. That's a weird IA agents. Anyways, couldn't even say it. I was like, God, this is like a double A here. But it's like they tell us flat out, yeah, we don't do those things. But then they're like, at the same time, we do this to every other country. Like, why wouldn't they do it to our country? It's funny. Is there any other topics before we get to Lucky Star Bigfoot? Any more? One thing I like about doing these is I can just hit anything. It's with the podcast, I'm kind of all right, let's kind of get into a rhythm and transition correctly. I'm just nah, we going everywhere. We are going everywhere. The goal for this live stream too is 15,000 likes. So hit the like button as much as you possibly can. Gets me in the algos. I think it's one thing that's kind of crazy about TikTok is that I didn't really take it serious. I kind of posted here and there. But I see a lot of people who are always trying to get their stuff in the algos, but I feel like they're not doing it right, maybe. They're doing it too promote, too polished. And I feel like TikTok nowadays is just hey, put your face in front of the screen and just talk about something. Because I'm seeing the difference in people that I follow who are doing more polished stuff than to people who are actually sitting in front of a mic, with an actual mic, not a portable one, and talking. It's not getting the views that I'm seeing non-polished videos. I mean, I only show half my face half the time. It's not, there'll be sometimes, man, I eat and I'm just I'm over here just looking like Husky Harris, which I guess I am husky. Or big boned is what they say now, or what they used to say. I'm a big boned fella. Let's see here. I guess it's Louis? Is that how you say it? I don't want to get your name wrong. Was the video of the Oklahoma Bigfoot ever released? All right, we'll talk about it. We'll get to it. Now, which Oklahoma Bigfoot? We're talking about Lucky Star? We're talking about other ones? But let's get to it. I've been teasing it enough. So, I think you get more views. Yeah, I think you do. I think you get more views when people see you. Because I know, like I said, I see a lot of polished podcasts who are good. They're good podcasts. They have good information, good banter, I guess as you want to call it. They're just not getting the views, and I think it might be because of that. It's just more polished. And people want to see you in your most candid moments, I guess. All right, Louis. So no, it hasn't been, and I don't think it ever will be. So I have now talked to 6 or 7 people. I've talked to family members of people who work there who have since passed at Lucky Star, like not in the casino, but like passed away that worked there at the time. And I've talked to people who work there now. I've talked to different people from different time frames of this casino. And one thing, and I had one dissenter, one person who said that none of this actually happened, which is interesting to me too as well, because I'm like, all right, how? I need to know why you think that, and what can you tell me? But that video is either long gone or has one copy, is what my opinion of that is. I have talked to someone who he lives in Canada now. Really good guy. Former, he used to work up there. And I've talked to Miss Rebecca, and then I've talked to people who no longer work there and people who work there. And they tell me that it's very creepy up there. There's a lot of ghost stories. People have seen things. But when you talk about this Bigfoot video, people, they are not talking about it. And I think from what I've been told is that it's like a very sensitive topic. And I know that it could get some people fired or in trouble. Now, Miss Rebecca on my podcast said that her dad is the one that called it in. I have heard something similar to that as well from another person. So when another person reached out and said it wasn't true and wasn't really giving me much, that I was like, okay, I can work off this. I can try to piece together other information that maybe corroborates what this person is saying. And a lot of people are not really talking about this. And I am honestly kind of surprised that I'm the only one that's talking about this. I know it's 25 years old. But I remember, I don't know if it was the Bigfoot Outlaws or somebody back in the Bigfoot community talked about this. And this is back in like 2010, maybe 2012. And I literally have been scouring the internet trying to find. Now, there have been blogs about this, but nothing from people who work there. And I put out the call on another podcast, Bigfoot Crossroads, and I started getting people reaching out to me. Now, do I believe that there was a Bigfoot on that camera? I do. Do I believe that they destroyed it because of it? Yes. Do I believe the reasonings that they said that it didn't exist and they destroyed it anyways? No. Because why would you destroy tape if it didn't exist? If there was nothing on that tape, why was it destroyed? That doesn't make sense to my logical brain. Those do not connect for me. Now, the person, has claimed a lot of things. I'm not really going to say much of what they said because I'm just going to give you what doesn't make sense to me. They destroyed everything to keep Finding Bigfoot and Discovery Channel off the nation's back. That could be true. But in 2000, Finding Bigfoot wasn't around. Finding Bigfoot wasn't, I don't think that started until like 2005. So that doesn't make sense. So and then the information with 2 gentlemen who showed up at the casino, dressed very sharply, very tall, and had weird looking faces. And was asking people who saw it, what did they see? They were there for a few days trying to figure out information about this video. I think it was Men in Black. Louis, yep, I believe it was Men in Black, basically. Now, they didn't pronounce themselves. They talked to management. That's the part that I need to get more clarification on. But they showed up, they were there for a little bit, and they bounced. And so that was confirmed to me by at least two people. One person wasn't really sure. So it's very interesting about this Lucky Star Casino Bigfoot footage. Do I believe it was there? Yes. Now, if there's someone wants to come forward and say, "Hey, I'm the person that actually did this," because like I'm not doing any reaching out. If you feel obligated that you want to come on or come to me, I don't share no names unless they want to come forward and share their names. I don't do the source naming thing that a lot of people sometimes do. Not that I don't believe them. I just want to protect people because, like I said, it's a sensitive subject with the Cheyenne and Arapaho Nation. I've mentioned this before on the last live stream. I do have some Cheyenne and Arapaho, but I don't claim it because I'm not able to get that information on my cards because I was told it's 8. You have to be 1/8 now. My dad technically could be, but I'm not. My grandma was a quarter. She was Cherokee, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Kiowa. That was her. She was full Indian, full blood. So, yeah, it's that topic alone is, something that I know a lot of people have heard, and then that casino in general is like super creepy. Like it's super super creepy. Like I'm not really sure what is going on. What's going on in terms of stories. I haven't really heard much. But that video, to me, I believe it is real, and I think it may still be out there. I have a friend who had multiple encounters with a skinwalker on the Navajo res. I'd love to hear those stories from your friend, but if you want to share that with someone who's Navajo and who has a podcast, or if your friend wants to share that, Don't Whistle at Night podcast. It's the Yazzie Bros. Yazzie Brothers, they do a real good podcast on Sundays at 2 p.m., I believe, Central Time. Have I heard of the Sierra Bigfoot audio? I have heard that. And you know what's crazy? I was talking to some older natives. They were telling me that they have heard that before. I want to say I had a relative, Creek relative, that said that they heard something like that. I also had heard too that they were somebody saw one. They were speaking Cherokee to it, and it listened. It knew. So that's why I'm like kind of wondering if Bigfoot, maybe not. I don't know. May not be of this realm. Sometimes, some of them. I don't know. I don't know if it's a flesh and blood. I don't know. Let's see here. You must be doing something right with the algo because it's the second time I caught you live. I think it's because that's why I have people like it. So hit that like button. The more you like it, the more it gets into the algos. That's why I tell people to like the live stream, because if you like it, it'll show up more, gets my podcast out there. And like I said, I'm an Indian dude from Oklahoma. I don't know nothing. I'm barely college educated. No, I'm college educated, but no, I just talk, man. I'm a guy. I am my authentic self. That's one thing too. I always have a lot of people who will comment things like, well, you need to hurry up with your storytelling. It's like, then you're not going to get an authentic story from me. You're going to get something edited down. You're not going to get my side thought in the middle. Like, if you've ever heard, like, especially our elders, they be talking like that. I'm not saying I'm an elder, but I'm just saying, like, I've learned that from my elders, from my grandpa, from my uncles, from my papa on my mom's side. We want you to understand the story, and we want you to understand what we're saying. Because one thing that I was always taught growing up, especially my Muskogee Creek side, is you need to listen and not talk. So when you hear a story, you need to pay attention, because that may be the only time they ever tell that story. Like there are stories right now that I piece together in my mind, but I don't remember them. Like I remember a semblance of a story, but they only told it one time because that was the way that, that's the way that some of those elders operated. JBKG 340. My mom had a run-in I don't know why I said your name like that, but my mom had a run-in with a shapeshifter in New Mexico. He stalked her and eventually scared her away. Dang. Well, shoot me a message. I'd like to hear that story. Let's see here. Me B says you're very fair too. You spit facts as you know it, but you show respect and you're raised right. I mean, my mom doesn't think I was. My mama doesn't think so. She thinks I'm a heathen. My brother too, but no, we just talk to people. You know, I think at the end of the day, most conflicts can be talked about. I know I'm just messing me B. I think I was raised pretty right. My mom was always, oh, I didn't raise y'all right. Y'all are always messing around like mess when we were younger. You know, you used to be knuckleheads when you're young. No, I got plenty of whoopings, man. The belt. You want to talk about? So my mom, I think I told the story before, but my mom was whip us with a fly swatter, and that wasn't working. So she turned it around to the other end with the wire in, and it got us for a little bit, and we got older. Then we got older, and she said, "Just wait till your dad gets home." I am not getting my ass whooped by my dad because he's pulling that belt off. So we act right. So we try to change our tune, but my parents did a good job of allowing us to make mistakes and learn from them and do the best we can. And my parents, I owe a lot to how I am, and especially the dad I am to both my parents, because I think a lot of it, and I see it working in nonprofits and working in government. Some people are not afforded that opportunity to have great parents. Sometimes if you had a parent pass, or you have a parent addicted to drugs or alcohol, or you had just a parent that wasn't there, like I always try to just be, now I'm going to come at you. You come at me, I'm going to come at you. I was raised that way. So if you want to be snippy in the comments, you know, I'm not saying I'm more smart than you or more intelligent. I look at things in a way where I try to lead with respect. And I try to explain things and talk to people, because I think a lot of times, you know, people get a platform and they start talking over people. They start just, you know, thinking that they know more because they have a bigger clout, I guess. I have been the same dude. I mean, Aaron was in here earlier. He's known me for almost 10 years now, if not more. I continued to have to be the same guy. I mean, I try to be my authentic self, and I think it's funny. I get a good kick at it. I'm kind of a troll about this too. Is that if you come snippy at me, you're going to get the clap back, but the clap back's not going to be the way you think. Like, oh, you look goofy. Let me pull your picture of your profile. No, buddy, no. I'm gonna play this dance with you. I'm gonna dance with you for a while. I had a guy in the comments last night, you know, talking, you know, being a little snippy, and I just was like, let me ask you this question. So I just went down and started asking him questions, and he couldn't answer them, and so then I said, well, if you can't answer my question, we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to dismiss you. I'm sorry. But it's just it's not really just trying to but I always try to respect people too in that instance, because like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, sometimes people be going to the battles in my comments in some of these videos, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, the way that they word comments, so I think it's like there'll be people going to battle, and I'm thinking people, oh, you're talking to me, like I am not even knowing what you're talking about, so I'll say something like, well, I don't understand what you're saying. And then I realize, oh, and so there's been times you'll see in the comments, I apologize, you know, I didn't mean, you know, I thought you was coming to me. I was going to be like, hey, what are we talking about here? But that's a lot of it too, is just, and also too being like, yeah, man, like maybe I did come a little hot, like especially with the 2 pastor video. I've had people come at me like, oh, well, what are you, a Satanist, or, you know, are you atheist? And it's like, no, I'm not. But yeah, I have to attribute that to my parents, because like my dad is that way. You poke the bear enough, like I'll let you get your shit off. Get your shit off. All right, go ahead, get it off. And it's like, I'm gonna wait and be patient, and like that's just, you know, all right, you done? Can we have a conversation? Is this the way we want to do it? And I've tried to be that way. Now, have I always been that way? No. But like I try to be better in that form or fashion. I'm just a regular dude. I make mistakes, and I try to make it right at the end of the day. Let's see here. Me B says same dude. Yeah, buddy. For real though. I ain't gonna lie, man. Those days running around Tahlequah, stealing candy, and maybe shorting the guy a few cents. You know, it is what it is. It's taking its toll. That's my karma, I guess. I'll definitely send you a message. It is what it is. It's taking its toll. That's my karma, I guess. I'll definitely send you a message. I got a lot of stories. I'm not sure if I will tell them. To be honest with you, there may be some stuff I do tell, but when it comes to that medicine stuff, I'll tell a little bit, but I'm only going to tell a certain amount. It's a respect thing that I try to carry with people, and just trying to make. Because, like I said, I don't want people to think that I think that they're doing bad medicine. That's really I just try to be fair. I want people to be able to share their stuff, but at the same time, I gotta not protect, because it's not my place to protect people, but I just want to be respectful. Louis says I got paranormal stories, little people stories. Oh, I said it out loud. You got me. LP stories. A few other stories I can share. Yeah, shoot me a message. I will. We can converse, because a lot of people. I know. Dang, it got me. I was just reading. They're gonna come get me now. I tell my wife all the time, like, yeah. It's just I try to. There's sometimes, man. There's weird things happening. Like I said the name. I said the full name LP, and there was weird stuff happening for a while there for here, and so there'll be times where I won't talk about the things, or I won't post a video, because things get a little weird. Stuff starts crashing. You're like, what was that? Savage Technique. I like your name, man. Savage Technique. Dang, you out here choking people out, sound like. War cry is... What does that mean? I like your name, though. Dang, make me think that you got people in the old school choke. You got them. Oh, Danae, okay. Shout out to the Danae out there, man. I know y'all got a lot of stuff out there. I only tell stuff from y'all's people when it's given and gifted to me, when they say you can tell this story. Because I don't really like talking about a lot of y'all stuff, because y'all stuff, yeah, that'd be coming in your dreams. Be, hanging out in them dreams. So we're at 11K likes, guys. Hit the like button. I want you to get arthritis, not arthritis. Arthritis. Hit the like button. We're trying to get down to 15. Hey, if we can get to 20, that's cool too. I got to pick my kids up here in a minute, but if we can get to 15,000 likes, that's cool. But yeah, man, that Lucky Star Casino stuff is going to be something I'm probably going to be digging on my entire life, honestly, because when people start getting old, the Lucky Savage Technique, it's the Lucky Star Casino Bigfoot video here in Oklahoma. But that Bigfoot video is going to haunt me for probably not haunt me, but I'm going to be digging at that and trying to find more information about that. And even if people don't share it, the information that I have is more than enough for me. But my ego, in the way that I just hold on to something. I can't let it go. I just can't get enough of that story. It's just fascinating that, it's out there, or it could be out there, might be out there. Feral people and missing 411. So one thing about feral people, so I've told this story before, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I love telling the story. But me and my wife, when she was pregnant with my second daughter, we went to Eureka Springs, and we were riding around on the trolley. And I'm not going to lie, the trolley driver, she was kind of, I don't know, she's a little stink, but we were riding around, and I was trying to get some information, as I do when I'm there, because Eureka Springs is a witchy place. There's a lot of people out there that practice those things. They got, what do they call it? diamond shops. I can't think of what they're called, but where they got the crystals, and they got all those Dr. Witchy sages that I'm like, I don't want none of that. And yeah, the vibes are creepy, but I love Eureka Springs. So we're driving around this trolley, and I'm just like, hey, I've heard rumors of feral people out here. Or I heard rumors of people in the woods. Is there anything like that? And she kind of looked at me like she I don't know if she's answered this question or been asked this question, but she goes, don't take the purple trolley on the last time, because you get left. And I'm like, what? Me and my wife kind of looked at each other like, what? Like, she's like, don't take the purple trolley at night, because it takes you basically all the way on the outside part of town, and it loops back into the downtown area, up through the mountains. She says, I have seen people run across the road. And I kind of asked her why. She's like, because there's people out here. I'm like, oh. And I didn't really say much after that, but I've asked people before, and I've heard stories of these surveyors when they're trying to get electric out to these real, out in the middle of nowhere places, that they see people like that out there. Let's see here. And I don't know if feral people are what's taking people and missing 411. I don't believe that. I honestly think it's LP taking people. And that's one thing when I'm, driving around here in the Tulsa area, I'm always like, man, I wonder, this housing addition that these developers put into this area, they don't know that there's history and there's energy to the land. It's all for profit. It's all money making, generating money, all that stuff. And they don't know what history's been there. And a lot of people don't realize, they're like, oh yeah, I just moved in this house and now I got crazy crap happening to me. So yeah, because they didn't care for the land. They just took it and then made it their own. Does it take you around the crescent or further? It takes you all the way down, like away, and then back towards the crescent. And I could be off on that if someone in Eureka Springs sees this, but they said it takes you all the way to the other side, and the only drop-off point is like basically off to the side of the road. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be, because I don't even know if there's anything out there. And we never took it, because I told my wife, I said, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. I would say something else, but I'm trying to be PG. Ain't no effing way. Ain't no effing way. All right. Next comment here. How do you overcome speaking in like a podcast setting? I have been telling stories and talking to people and speaking to people my entire life. It has been ingrained in me since I was a little kid. I think my first time I ever told a story was at Eufaula Canadian tribal town storytelling event. I was like 8, telling my LP story when I was at Woodall. And I think what it is, a lot of people are afraid to hear themselves, and they're also afraid to make a mistake. And like, I'm really not. Like, if I get something wrong, I want someone in the comments to be like, hey, this is actually what it is. Like the plate story that I was told. That was one of those stories that I had only heard one time. And I told it, and I was asking people, because I knew I was going to get it wrong, because I didn't know. And there were people saying, no, it was this. So it's just all about, if you get it wrong, or if you don't tell it right, it's okay to, like, it's okay. Like, there will be people out there who are more knowledgeable, who will step up and allow you to, make a mistake and then try to learn from it. Unique Treat 918 sent me a rose. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. I don't really know what that means, but no one knows what it means, but it's provocative. Anyways, it gets the people going, but I appreciate it. Savage Technique says Oklahoma's open carry 24/7. Yeah, that is a thing. Do I see people, especially in the Tulsa area? Not a lot of people. I don't really see it a lot. Like, more, I've seen it more in rural. Like, I'm from a more rural area, where you get beat down at night if you're not careful. Aaron lives out. Aaron lives out in a place, smaller town. He was in the chat. I don't know if he's still in there. We used to run around. There's all types of people out late doing crazy stuff. And you'd be surprised. These small towns be wilding out a little bit. You just don't see it because it's never on Main Street. But I appreciate the rose. Guys, we're almost at 15,000. We are so close. I appreciate y'all for hanging on. The first section, it's a lot of yapping, but once we get to topics and people start talking and interjecting, because it's fun. I have one on the casino in my town where people live and see gargoyles. So you know what? That is interesting. You need to drop that. Drop that episode. Stop playing with us, Louie. And also drop your podcast name in the comments, and everybody go follow. Everybody go check it out. Because that's one thing too, man. I get people hoodlums out there. Literally, man. People just be wilding out. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm just a normal guy, everyday guy. You may see me at Walmart. You may see me here. You may see me there. It's weird. I'll say this. I've had one or two people say, "Hey, I think I've seen you on TikTok," which is weird. It's very strange. It was weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was a little taken back. But I got a book coming out that I am in the first very rough draft. It involves old ancient things. And the characters mirror people that I've had in my life, and also myself. And so I'm doing a lot of different things on the side besides TikTok and different things. But like I said, I'm just a normal dude trying to create content, and I think a lot of people like it. I do have people who are critical, but that's all right. It comes with the territory. But you're going to get my authentic self. You're not going to get some dude that's polished, and you're not going to see 19 different edits. If you listen to my podcast, the very first episodes, I talk about Bigfoot and medicine. I talk about Antarctica. I talk about Bob Ross being a serial killer. I talk about a whole lot of things that I don't think a lot of people talk about. I talk about devil monkeys in Oklahoma. I talk about all the creepy things that I've heard in Oklahoma. I got Oklahoma ghost stories. I got, I probably almost got close to, a couple 100 hours of content. And so I just try to keep, we got 15, didn't we? Damn, I'm not even paying attention. 15. Oh, we're about to hit 16. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate it. Nursing home stories and the haunted towers are good ones. Yeah. No, when that guy told me that the Cityplex Towers here in Tulsa, I literally was getting goosebumps hearing that because it was creepy. Like, I thought that was so stinking creepy. The nursing home ones eventually I'm going to get a hold of some people in those comments, and I want to have them on my podcast and have them talk about it. Because there was one lady who had done it 30 years and had seen so much crazy stuff. Nursing home stories they're creepy. They're creepy to me because that's death. These people are there just to basically make them comfortable before they die. Savage Technique says, I got used to public speaking after college and undergraduate presentations. I can do it anywhere, anytime. Yeah, I'm the same way. I had to do my thesis. I had to tell a piece of that. And I had to explain it to graduate college. So it comes easy. But Louie's podcast, if you guys hear this on YouTube, which this will be on YouTube if you're late, if you didn't hear the full live stream, it will be on YouTube. But Beyond the Unknown on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So go check that out. I believe, Louie, you're what? Where did you say you were from? TikTok coming soon. Let's see here. Rhea's mommy, my dad has a lot of stories. Well, get your dad in contact with me. My email is real, REAL, warcrypod @gmail.com, or message me on here. I'd like to hear some of his stories. And your uncle's stories too. Tucson, Arizona. Are you part of a nation? Are you not? Are you Dene? Or what are you out there? Are you a tribal member somewhere? Or? give you a shout out on that too. But yeah, I'd like to hear your uncle and your dad's stories, Rhea's mommy. That sounded crazy coming out of my mouth. I ain't gonna lie. Is that odd? How do you say that? Autumn Nation. I am too. Oh man, this is. All right, I'm not even gonna say it, but that's what nation she's part of. Shout out to them. Golly, I did not want to butcher that. There's some words that I see, especially with double vowels, that I can't say. My mouth just won't. Like growing up, I was really confused in who I was a lot with my language. So I went to Cherokee camp growing up for a lot of my younger years. And I had basically learned Cherokee. I could speak it. I could understand. I could still understand a little bit when people talk. I just haven't. It's not something that I practiced as I got older. But once I got older, my grandpa put in front of me a Muskogee Creek dictionary. And so I was learning Muskogee Creek. So like the V's and the S's is what gets me in. Like I have a problem with those. And so when I always want to say things in a certain way and it doesn't sound right. So I apologize if I got that wrong, but that's cool. So what is it? I want to make sure I shout that out again. Beyond the Unknown podcast will be TikTok, and then right now it's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Anadarko Riverside. Yeah. I've heard some creepy things about Riverside too. I heard a lot of creepy things about Riverside. Not the one out in California, but the Riverside here in Oklahoma. Unless I'm getting it wrong. Unless Riverside has been in California this whole time and I just have been an idiot. We're at 17K likes. Man, we might as well just get to 20 and I'm going to get off here. My plan for live streams is going to try to be on Mondays and Fridays. I may pop in on Wednesdays, but it'll most likely always be from 3 to about 5 o'clock, about 2 hours. I want to give the YouTube audience too. So if you hit my page and then go in and find YouTube, click it, go and follow. I like to have content on there, and I haven't been putting much on there. Like I said, I touched a little bit of grass. Got offline, which I feel like I've been online more now that my stories are hitting the algos. Louis said, "I'm glad I was able to catch you live. I'm glad that you came in. I'm glad that I'm getting to see other podcasters, especially native podcasters, because this is one thing that I'm critical about us natives, and I'm always speaking with respect, is that we have this crab in a barrel mentality about a lot of stuff. There's not enough resources. There's not enough, but in this podcast game, in the content creation game, there's enough room for us. And I always want to support people who who reach out and and hang out with me during a live stream, whatever. Because to me, I think we need to support each other more. And I always shout out people, Spooky Okie. I'm getting that Okie Spooky. I'm losing it. She's out of Pahuska. We have the Don't Whistle at Night podcast with the Yazzie brothers. Go follow them. We have Res Scares, which is Dono. He's from Canada. Rod from Lodge Tales podcast. He's from Blackfeet. I'm trying to think of who else. Barry, the Apache storyteller. He's Apache. Spirit Talkers, which is Creek and Pawnee podcast. Skull Crawlers, which I believe, I can't remember what nation they are, but they're Talkers, which is Creek and Pawnee podcast. Skull Crawlers, which I believe, I can't remember what nation they are, but they're it could be the mic. But yeah, I just try to support people. I just try to, I may not be a lot of help in a lot of ways, but what I will do is spread the word. So all you got to do is let me know, and I appreciate you, Louis, for jumping in. Is there one last topic, guys? We've got like 3 minutes. One last final topic, and I'll yap about, and we'll get off here. If not, hit that like button, boom, 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 or follow me. If you're just passing by, hit the follow button. But I'd like to get to 20K. But if not, it is what it is. I ain't going to press y'all. I was hoping y'all got arthritis. I was hoping that y'all were going to be out. Thunderbirds. I haven't really heard much about that. My family don't really. I don't think I've really heard much about them. I know a guy named Tyler. He was on the Spirit Talkers for a while. Told one crazy one that I can't really remember, but it's on the Spirit Talkers podcast when I was on there. But yeah, I haven't really heard much about Thunderbirds. I know Danae see them from time to time. And I know those Western tribes. Those Western tribes, what's one thing too that I always got to really I'm really fascinated about them is, especially the Southwest tribes, but they did enough to kind of keep the cavalry and everybody at bay, to where they still have those lands, a lot of those sacred parts of their res, and those things are still out there. Because I often wonder a lot too if our government has a lot of our beings somewhere. And that's where they're getting this technology from, or they're getting this, they're getting, I don't know, the medicine. I don't know. Katrina dolls. I don't really think I know much about Katrina dolls. I used to have one from my cousin, but I can't remember it. There's too many stuff that go in and out of my brain. But last thing I want to talk about before I get off here. I have been talking. I see things. I happen to see things because of my algorithms, and I'm not a purveyor of punching down on people, especially podcasters or non-native podcasters who talk about native things. But I will say something. And I saw something the other day that kind of not grinded my gears, but it's just one of those things where you kind of sigh and be like, all right, again. And I talk about the Raven Mocker on my podcast a lot. I had dealt with it, some parts of my life, and I was always told, that we have to watch for these things. And I saw somebody put that out on there, oh, we're going to talk about this legend, like it's some mythical thing that's not real. But I'm going to leave this live telling you that these things are real. These beings, the Raven Mocker, Bigfoot, all these other things that go bump in the night, they're real. People believe them. And if people believe them, then they're real. And there's a lot of people out there that believe in them. And I see a lot of non-native, especially here in Oklahoma, with the tension of the governor and the tribes, and I see a lot of non-natives scoffing at a lot of our stuff. And I don't get mad about it, because they believe what they believe and I believe what I believe. But at the end of the day, if we believe it, it's probably real. I appreciate everyone who has continued to support the podcast. Meeby says, you've said it before and you'll say it again. If it's not meant for you to know about, then you're probably not going to know about it.